Good morning, everyone. This is Dan Spots for the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Dalles Area Community Affairs. On this bright and a little cloudy, I understand we have a little bit of rain coming down, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and get started with introductions. Our guest this morning is Sheriff Lane Magill, Wasco County. Welcome, Lane.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the invite.
All right, we'll go ahead and go around the Zoom table here. I'm going to call upon people, and if you have any updates, please let us know. So I'm going to start with Scott McKay.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Scott McKay, Community Liaison for Circles of Care. We connect volunteers with older adults who need some kind of periodic support. And that would be it.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioner Phil Brady.
Good morning, Phil Brady. It's nice to be here at home this week. I've been gone. This is related to Rowena indirectly. Let me share my screen real quick. On Wednesday night, I saw a advertisement for this benefit in Hood River at Mount Hood Winery. So I thought, well, this would be worth going to. So I did. And I was so humbled. There were at least 350 people at the benefit. Here's the lineup, Griffin, and especially Jan Burkett, the third there person on the list. She was the organizer. So it was a tremendous outpouring. All those musicians were there playing music. They had a live auction. I don't know how much money they raised for the Rowena folks, but I was humbled to see that much support happening in Hood River. Not that Hood River is not caring, but it's from coming from Wasco County people. I was telling people this, it was truly amazing.
That is wonderful, Phil. Thank you very much. That type of support is so desperately needed, and everyone is coming forward. It's very, very good to see. Let's go to Corliss Marsh.
Good morning, everyone. Corliss Marsh. Phil, I just heard that they made over $30,000. So that was great.
Does not surprise me. Yeah, but there was a lot of wine being shared.
Right. I'm with Habitat for Humanity in the library and the senior center, and also coming up on Wednesday night, it's people from my home state of Hawaii, dancers from Hawaii. They'll be at the city park Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And then Thursday morning is Dr. Cook from Clackamas Community College will be finishing his last leg of his run. And he'll be at the event center in Hood River at 9 a.m. on Thursday. It's right after we speak. So I'll announce it again next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Corliss. Let's get those on the calendar. Thank you. Jacob Anderson.
Good morning. This is Jacob Anderson, the new Economic Development Officer with the city. And I've got an update from the SBA PIO, Javier. They have a physical damage application for those affected by the wildfire of September 15th. And what they can do is they can get people cash now to start the rebuilding process, even if it's going to take your insurance a few more months, so that people can get started. And it's 0% interest for the first 12 months. So then when the insurance kicks in, it actually didn't cost you anything. They have set up a office there in the Gloria Center, and they're open Monday through Friday. And so just getting that word out there. The city's trying to get that word out there on the radio and everything else, but you guys are all leaders in the community.
Jacob, would you do me a favor and email me some information on that? I've been in touch with Kelly from Wasco County about putting a communications group together, and I want to try to get everybody on the same page. So that's very good to know. Thank you.
I'd be happy to.
Awesome. We have Linnea.
Hi, nice to be here. My name is Linnea Gagliano. I'm Senator Wyden's. Hi, Lisa. I used to work at Travel Oregon and know Lisa very well. Big fan of everything she does and big fan of the Dells. I am now Senator Wyden's new field rep for Wasco County, along with Hood River County and Clackamas. So I've been following Dr. Tim Cook too, so that's really exciting, running 32 miles every day. But also, my first week in the job, I had worked as the communications for the senator since 2023. But my first weekend was Rowena Crest Fire. And boy, I just really have to say, Sheriff Magill, that Stephanie Krell was amazing. She did such a great job with communications. And I was very appreciative and really impressed. And I'm really grateful to be here. So I'll drop in the chat my contact information if you need anything. But great to be here and nice to see you, Lisa.
Good to see you too.
Linnea, welcome to that role. Thank you very much. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
you're able to join us this morning.
Same. Thank you so much.
And now, am I pronouncing your first name right?
Yes, Linnea. It's a tough one.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Dan Richardson.
Dan
Dan, you're
Richardson, City Councilor here in the Dells. I don't have any particular report this morning. Just want to appreciate the opportunity to see you all again and to hear the sheriff speak on some important issues.
Thank you, Dan. Vesta Smith.
Good morning. I'm manage the gift shop at the hospital, but mostly I'm here just because I am a community member that likes to kind of know what's going on in the community.
Thank you for joining us, Vesta. Tonya Bromley.
Thanks, Dan. Tanya Brumley with Northwest Natural. I'm also on the board of directors for United Way, and just thinking recently that it might be good to have our United Way executive director speak at one of these, because United Way is collecting many of the funding that is happening around the gorge that will go to Rowena Fire, and just kind of give a quick snapshot of that and how it will be dispensed, which will not be through us directly, but through MCHED. So might be a highlight for everyone to hear about some of those accomplishments that have been going on and all the generosity.
Absolutely. Tonya and
Yep.
Lisa, the president of your chain. Lisa, go ahead.
I'm on it.
Okay. Lisa's on it. Lisa, let's take that opportunity to introduce yourself.
Okay, Lisa with the Dells Chamber. I put some stuff in the chat. There's 3 big things that we're doing. Nominations for our Community Distinguished Citizens Award. We moved it to September instead of January. Lots of reasons, as you can imagine. We are taking nominations for those citizens to be recognized, and the link is in the chat. We also have our tickets on sale for that. That is also in the chat. And we're still taking donations for the youth livestock auction. That is on the 16th at the fairgrounds. These are both FFA and 4-H future leaders of our communities. We are taking donations up through the 13th for the chamber pool, and then we will go out there together with that. And then I wanted to let you know, I know that Jacob hit on the SBA opportunities for the rebuild and recover. That's what we're calling it. For the Rowena Fire, we have a page that is there, and we have opportunities where you can still donate, both financially and for furniture and for other goods. And we also have the hours listed so that people can go and receive those goods. We know that it's a long haul because they don't have a structure to put it in. But there is also the opportunity, the SBA, but also Umpqua is doing some low interest loans for the Rowena Fire. They were able to come together with that. So that is also on that page. If you know of something else, please let me know. I know Wasco County has immense resources, but some of those aren't the local donation, who's doing the pickup and who's doing the hours. And people have been coming to us, including Quinn with the emergency services that is working with Wasco County. So we're trying to keep that up the best that we can. So that is what the chamber is doing.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa, very much. Good to know. Good to know. We have Heather Land.
Good morning. Heather Land, Communication Specialist with Wasco Electric Cooperative. I don't have any updates this week. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heather. And Mary Beth Richmond.
Hi, I'm here as a community member. I'm here to listen and learn and see what else going on.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Bill Lennox, did I call on you earlier? I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Well, I don't think so, but that's okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Lennox, and I'm with Six Rivers Dispute Resolution Center. And I'm really interested in hearing what Sheriff Magill has to say about all of his work that he's been doing. So it's great to be here.
Thank you, Bill, for joining. We have Noah. Noah, are you able to join? Introduce yourself. Okay, maybe not. No, if you can join in later, give us any updates, that'd be welcome. And with that, did I miss anybody around the table? If not, let's go ahead with Sheriff Lane Magill. Lane, do you have a slide deck, or how would you like to proceed?
No, I'll just run my mouth like I always do. I don't, good grief, man. The last time I did a slide deck, somebody from way up in the smart category was able to help me do that. And could I do a PowerPoint? Oh yeah, sure. And then I had to call some very nice lady at the OCBA saying, could you help me do this? And she says, oh yeah, not a problem. I got there. I was like, good grief. It looked like some movie star made it or something. That's way out of my pay grade, but well, anyways, hey, thanks for having me. It's been a while since we've been here, and appreciate the invitation. Just to kind of give a overview of the sheriff's office and what we're doing. You can all imagine that we're probably super busy, which we are. Somebody said, how busy are you? I said, oh, busier than a cat on a hot tin roof in the middle of July. We're just going like crazy right now, of course, with all the stuff that's going on. So I guess the hot topic right now is and as far as just getting things done and stuff, of course, is our Rowena fire. Those of you that were at the community meeting that we had at the high school after the event with the fire teams and everybody like that, I stated, and I still stand by this, is I've been here, I'll be 59 in November, and 55 of those years have been in Wasco County. And this is the worst incident disaster that I've ever seen, not only as a citizen, but in law enforcement. I compared this to the Mosier train derailment. I thought that was a pretty big deal, but that's small compared to what we're dealing with now. So super tragic and stuff like that. There's always good in things that we deal with in law enforcement. I've always felt that way, and try to look for the good things that happen in law enforcement, through tragedy and different things like that. What I can say is that we did not lose any lives. While we lost tens of millions of dollars in actual property, that can be replaced, but the life of our citizens, it can't be replaced. And I'm so thankful that we were able to, get people out in time. I can tell you, it was pretty nip and tuck. That was probably one of the hottest and probably the fastest moving fire, short of the substation fire that was a full wildland fire with no interface in it, urban interface in it. So this thing was, when I'm standing at the incident command post and I hear firefighters saying we're being overrun on the radio and they're leaving hoses on the road and they're getting out, it's a hot, fast fire. But thank goodness we got everybody out in time and got them to a safe location, away from it. But what we're, the other thing too that I'll talk about is I've been on some major incidents with just fires and primarily fires, I guess you'd call it, that we deal with a lot in the summertime, but other incidents, major crimes teams and multi-jurisdictional operations that we have between law enforcement that's not only in Oregon, but in Washington through our Mid-Columbia Law Enforcement Association, and them assisting us and us assisting them when they need it or request it. I'm continually, I don't know why I would say amazed, but I guess really it's more of a humbling experience Bill, you could probably go back to the days of law enforcement when they weren't the way they are now, but when the call comes out or before the call comes out, or before I even ask for anything, law enforcement from every agency just shows up. In this incident, Oregon State Police just called me and said, "Where do you need us?" And I said, "Well, connect with, whoever we were running at the time," and happened to be my chief deputy. Sherman County called. Actually, Sherman County just showed up. Gillum County actually showed up. They were transitioning through the valley. They just showed up at the incident command post. "We're here for you." Fire guys showed up. It was just everybody kind of came together, or did come together, and we got a lot of people evacuated in a really short period of time. But I think the thing to remember about that is it's ongoing. And by the way, my deputies, I never called my deputies at all. We have the Everbridge system that everybody's familiar with, and we send that information out if I need it. We've got an internal thing like, "Hey, I got to have some help," type of a thing. We never had to send an Everbridge out to any of our deputies or a parole and probation staff or anybody like that. They just saddled up and showed up, said, "Where are we going to go?" They said, "We're on our way." I had one deputy ask, "Should I come in? Is it okay? I'm here. I'm ready to be dressed." And we're like, "Yeah, go for it." So that's just a testament to the people, the men and women that we hire here. They're dedicated till, it's an honor to serve these people. And I don't say that from a political standpoint. I just say that because that's the team that we've got here, and that's our mentality in law enforcement in the Gorge. So with that being said, what we have done at the county is, you can just imagine the chaos that comes after an incident like this. You have donations coming in, you have firefighters that need to be helped, you have people that lost their homes, there's water systems that are down, everything like that. So one of the things that we've done at Wasco County is we've created the Rowena Fire Recovery Incident Management Team. That was one of the things that we really realized after the incident had kind of calmed down, so to speak, and the fire was out and the firefighters were beginning to go away, is you have to have some sort of organizational structure, to get through some of these big incidents. And so the incident management system is the way to do that. So we developed an incident management team for the Rowena fire. I'm the deputy incident commander for that incident management team. Tyler Stone is the incident commander. And then below that, we have a series of individuals that are participating in that from all different parts of the county as well as the state. So for instance, somebody mentioned earlier, Stephanie Krell, she's our PIO, but we're coordinating with North Wasco County PUD with their PIO while Stephanie's out. So we're tag teaming on that. I actually happen to be the ops section chief. And then we have under that, we've got a recovery branch that includes public health. We've got that's mass care. I'm sorry. That would be Martha from public health. We have DEQ in a recovery branch. And we have Kelly Housey Glover from our planning department. She's running the long-term recovery group branch. And then off of that, there's other groups that are part of that. We have planning section chiefs. We have, which is my emergency manager, finance director at Wasco County is our financial section chief. So there's a whole group of people that are, have come together to actually create a plan and get a path forward on how we're going to help with the recovery of the citizens. What I can tell you now so far is that phase one, everybody's probably heard about it with the DEQ cleanup. Phase one is basically complete. We've got a couple of houses that they're going to review today. Were the last, I think there was 3 houses and properties that were last on the list that they had to come back for, that filled out their right of entry forms, and they're going to make cleanup efforts on those sites today, which should only take them probably just a half a day to get that done, we're guessing. That part of it is, like I said, is basically complete with coordination of the DEQ on that, which has been very, very successful. Phase 2 is going to be a little bit trickier, a lot trickier actually, from the simple standpoint of money. Phase 1, in order for these, and I've learned this, I didn't realize this, but of course the 2020 fires in Southern Oregon were the They were the benchmarks for how sites get cleaned up and stuff like that, as well as California fires from Pasadena or I think it was Pasadena and Paradise. I know that was one of them. But one of the first phases that has to happen in any type of wildfire cleanup related to homes is household hazardous waste. That has to be done first before you can get into removing debris and ash and potentially foundations, those types of things. There's a technical reason why they do it, for safety and different things like that. So phase one, the state of Oregon stepped up to the plate through DEQ and paid for that to have that done. I don't remember what the total cost. I think it was estimated about 280,000, and I think they came in at 175 or 180,000. So they came in under budget on the cleanup because there wasn't a lot of household hazardous waste. Phase two is coming. We hope. The issue with phase two is that is a very, very costly process. Rough estimates sitting on my desk right now. Looks like it's going to be about 5.8 million to go in and clean everything up. Now, there's some movement in that as far as actual costs, because they're estimating a house to have a certain amount of debris on it, but they may get to a piece of property that doesn't actually have that amount of debris on it. So they would have to, that cost for that specific lot residence would come down. Like in some cases, they're estimating almost 235 tons of material that would come out of a piece of property. And we know that that's probably not completely 100% accurate. Oh, I understand the subcontractor under Northwest Firefighting Environmental is giving those costs to us. The reality of it is there's homes that they were a manufactured home. So as hot as this thing burn, you have basically, unfortunately, it's just the steel framework of the home and the concrete runners, and that's really all there is that's there, right? And considering the gorge winds, if there's any ash left on a piece of property, I would be surprised. Unfortunately, it's just, the wind has just continues to blow the stuff around. So, and we'll get through that, of course. Anyways, so then we've had some conversations with the governor's office, Oregon Emergency Management, as far as helping cover some of those costs and what that looks like. That is really, really up in the air. We've got some verbal conversation that come out of the governor's office that said they would give us 1.5 million towards that cleanup, but they're not going to guarantee that. So the reality of it is, and to make a really long, highly detailed story very, very short, is we're going to have to get our political elbows in the grease, so to speak, and start reaching out to Representative Helfrich and Representative Bonham and maybe even Representative Smith to help us on that, to get some funding through the e-board stuff. Because the difference, if Wasco County if the state was to give the 1.5 million, Wasco County cannot leverage $4.4 million. That's 25% of our general fund budget. And there's just no way we can do that. So, so there's that part of the conversation that's happening. We don't know when phase two will start, because we're going to have to get through some of this funding stuff and see what that looks like through short session, maybe, or even maybe emergency board. We're not exactly sure how that's going to work. I'm not really part of that group in the incident command. I'm just kind of giving that 100,000 foot overview to everybody here. So that's where we're at with it. I want to ensure everybody and that, there's been a lot of apprehension about why Wasco County was doing this. Is there ulterior motives, and we're the government, we're here to help. That's been a really hot topic in some circles. And it's like, yeah, we are here to help and we are helping. I just think it's important for people to know that what's happening behind the scenes is you've got a really strong team of, department heads from multiple agencies, from the state, as well as the local and regional, groups that we all serve on, which I'm pretty proud to be a part of. And we're stronger together. That's what I always say. So We are here to help. We're doing some good things, you know, and we're investing some of our own money in it from a county perspective, and just time and some of the resources, personnel resources that we're putting into this incident. We've invested about just a little under $1/3 million in costs based on what we're doing as far as the fire goes, you know, and that's no small feat. That comes out of, you know, I'm committing my time to it, and administration's committing their time to it, and so on and so forth down the line. Anybody we need to have help us. So I think the last thing I'll say on the Rowena fire is this is going to be, and it is a long road ahead. And we're talking even intermediate housing and stuff like that because of the damage that's been done. It's complicated to say the least, but the reality of it is, and I just think it's the best way to say it, and I don't want to be insensitive to this, but we're looking at 3 to 5 years before we can get this thing really dialed in. And I mean, we're dialing it in now, but really getting people back in their homes. This long-term recovery group they got their hands really, really full with this thing, and it's going to be a grind to get it done in 3 to 5 years because of just the complexities of this project. You know, I mean, we're talking Columbia Gorge Commission and National Scenic Area, Planning Department, archaeological. There's all kinds of stuff that is part of this process. So just expect it to last a long time, expect to hear it a lot, you know, and just continue to be there for our citizens. And that's what my hope is. So yeah, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the big issues that I was let in on was the issue with the Foley Lakes Fire District, water district. And the issue is that trying to come up with the funds to try to rebuild that is going to be really complex. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, so that's the Tule Lakes Fire Water District. Yeah. Yeah, that is a complex problem. I don't know all the details. I'll give you the 100,000 foot response to that, Bill. So they were having problems prior to the fire. We do know that. They were having well contamination issues, I think, and stuff like that. Yes, it's a big deal because their water system was already not working very good, and then there's damage to it through the residents and stuff like that. So they're going to have to make some decisions on from a board perspective of how they want to move forward with that district and what that's going to look like. There has been some conversations about potentially, and this is a long shot, so don't quote me by any stretch of the imagination, but this is a long shot that there may be a strong possibility that we could get the city water that ends at the Dalles Golf Course moved out there to help them. However, that's probably rough estimates, 6 to 7 million to do that. So how that works and where that comes into play, who knows? I will talk about the other one that they have, the Rowena Water District, they call it. It was for the address. It's a Rowena mobile home park, basically. I'll just call it that. That's not the right name. They lost everything in their well stuff. Their wells were completely destroyed. So we're the health department in the mass care, as well as the recovery branch, is working directly with that district as well to get them back online. There is temporary water service at all the places that need it. I can tell you that the health department is coordinated. They received a grant from Orem, I guess is what you call it, which is a division of ODHS down in Salem, the Department of Human Services. I think it was $100,000 grant. Don't quote me on that, but for water supply and stuff like that. So citizens are getting water that are still in their homes. So I know that was a long answer, but I hope that helped you out, Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. Other than that, still busy with fires. We had the Cram fire down south. While we were pretty fortunate, that only burned about 5% of the fire was in Wasco County. So we didn't have any real, I mean, we had some people on evacuation statuses down there in Antelope and the Washington Family Ranch. We got some real favorable weather on that fire. Unfortunately, the favorableness to us was unfavorable for Jefferson County. She turned and burned and started going southbound, and we put 5 deputies on standby to help the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the Madras Police Department to evacuate the city of Madras if that needed to happen. Thank goodness it didn't. They were able to get a lot of resources in there and protect the city. So that was another big one that we had. And then we had another one here as of recent out off of Winslow Road. We got really lucky on that one again. That one ended up burning. We're not exactly sure how that started as of right now. I know that the Department of Forestry was investigating that, and I never actually heard the cause of that fire. So, but it only burned into the canyon, and it actually burned over into some of the area that was Larch Creek fire the previous year. So there was not a lot of heavy fuels in that canyon. So that helped. And the wind happened to die down at about the right time when everybody showed up. So that we turned out pretty fortunate there. So fire season continues to keep us going, and we're just about not even halfway through it really right now. So we started officially we started really early this year in fire season. Our first named fire was April 5th in Dufur. We had a brush pile fire get away from us, burned 3 acres, and it was a named fire. That's the earliest named fire that I can remember in the last 9.5 years of being your sheriff. So it's super dry and it's super hot, and we've had a lot of red flag stuff. So we're not out of it yet. We've got another 45 to 60 days before we can say that we're completely out of it. Let's see, a couple other things that we're doing here at the sheriff's office is we're just really busy with staffing as far as being up to staff. We're able to say that we actually have 17 of our 18 positions filled. As of January 1st, if I told everybody that if we were to get to the 17 mark, I'd commit somebody as far as a resident deputy to South Wasco County. And January 1st, Deputy Kyle Veracruz, who lives in the Pine Hollow area, is now our permanent South County resident deputy. Which has been a goal of mine for a long time, and actually a goal of mine even before I became sheriff. When I was chief deputy, we just couldn't get the staffing to make it happen, which we did now. So I'm super excited about that. He's totally integrated in the community down there. We actually have a substation at the Maupin High School. So we've got his office and everything right in the school. So he's fully integrated in the high school and the grade school down in Maupin, which is super exciting. I can tell you the kids absolutely love the guy. We were at some special events towards the end of the school year with seniors and grade schoolers and stuff with a community cleanup deal down there. And everybody kept asking. Matter of fact, I had one little kid come up to me. I don't know, he must have been a 3rd grader or something like that. And he looks at me and he kind of turns his head and he says, "You're not Mr. Veracruz, are you?" I go, "No, I'm not Mr. Veracruz." And he just kind of drops his head and walks off. And I'm like, wow, that's exciting. Well, about that time, Kyle shows up 10 or 15 minutes later, and every kid come out of the woodwork. And I mean, they just mauled my deputy, and they just love him down there. So, and we're getting some things done from a criminal standpoint, investigation standpoint. With having him down there, we're able to get on top of a lot of different things that are happening, through, narcotics, as well as, just traffic and calls for service. I think we're up to, doesn't sound like a lot, but 50 reports, actual case reports and investigations in just South Wasco County alone. I think he's pushing I think there's been probably close to 350 or 400 calls for service that are just specific to South Wasco County, that we finally have citizens that are starting to call and utilize that service. So that's been a great thing for us. The Marine program is still on track. We're still doing that. We're still providing those services with our own boat after we canceled the Marine Board contract. And like I said, we bought our own boat, and we now have 8 of us that are certified to run the boat instead of just 1. And our cost is very minimal for that. Our budget is solid. A lot of people ask that question, as far as how's our budget for the fiscal year that we just started in July, because we operate July 1st to June 30th. Our budget is really solid. We are probably one of the most, if not the most financially secure counties in the state. I feel very fortunate, as not only as a sheriff, but as a citizen, quite frankly, to have the budget that we have in Wasco County. We've done a really good job of, managing our money. and having some savings, as well as being able to do long-term projections. I say this every time when I talk about budget. I'm so thankful for the new budget process that we have. It's really not new. We're going into our 5th year of using that new budget process. And for those of you that are not familiar with that, is 4 years ago or 5 years ago now, we looked at changing our budget process to a department process. So it used to be, and I'll just talk for the sheriff's office, I'm part of the general fund. So there's a lot of different departments that come out of that general fund. You've got the assessor's office, the clerk's office, finance comes out of there, administrative services comes out of there, human resources is part of that. And what was happening is we were allocated our dollars, or, we give a budget, line item budget, and we were given those dollars, of course, and it was approved by the commissioners and administration and that whole process. And it'd take 3 to 4 weeks to get that done. And what we did is we switched that over, and we started looking at, because what was happening is for the sheriff's office in particularly, we were turning back about $120,000 a year into the general fund, and which was good, and the money was being utilized appropriately. However, what it didn't give us the ability to do from a department standpoint is give us the ability to do long-term financial planning around projects that we're trying to develop out. I'll talk about those in just a second. So what we did at the county 5 years ago is we carved off everything off the top that has to happen at the county. So if you think about it, you have to have administrative services, financial services, and one of the big things in the financial world is PERS, of course, and what that looks like from putting money over into our PERS side accounts and stuff like that. And then what they did is they looked at each department and what we had as far as expenditures go, revenues, and all that sort of stuff. And then they allocated us a specific amount of money. So in our particular case, and we are the largest general fund budget in the county because we have the most people, the most, short of the road department and, $1 million dump trucks and excavators and different things like that, of course. And that's a totally different funding stream. There is some general fund dollars that move into the road department, but their main funding comes from a different financial source or funding source. So for us, we received about 33.8, I think it is, or 34.8%, somewhere in there, of the actual year tax dollars after the administrative costs, PERS, all that stuff's peeled off the top. What that does for us is that gives us the ability to create long-term financial stability within the department, as well as long-term financial planning within the department. So I'll give you a really, really good example of that. In February, we went live with the upgraded radio system. We had an old VHF analog system, and we converted to a digital system. We are the first law enforcement agency that partner with the Oregon State Police and the Oregon Department of Transportation's radio system. So we actually have increased our coverage, in particularly on the south end of Wasco County, by about 65 to 75%, depending on where you're at. We are all 100% digital, which means that we've tied into all of the OSP ODOT radio towers, an additional 5 towers. And Bill, you'll really appreciate this conversation, but I was sitting in my office here one day, and I have our OPRD deputy that provides services for the Parks and Rec, and he was in Trout Creek, which is basically Jefferson County. That's part of our contract, is to cover that area at Trout Creek on the Deschutes River. It's a huge launch point, a huge pull-out point for people that are fishing and stuff like that. And I reached over to pick the phone up to say, hey, I need to have Steve call me. I was gonna have dispatch do it. I'm like, you know what the heck? So I just reached over, I picked up my portable radio, and I went 21 to 245. And I just did it, just regular traffic, portable to portable, and he picked up on the other end. And it's just like you and I are talking today. So that system and changing these radios here, $5,500 a piece and $9,000 a piece for every police car. So you can imagine at $13,000 per person in the department, and then throw in search and rescue, reserves, spare cars, and all that sort of stuff, you racked up about a $450,000 bill. $55,000 of that 450,000 actually came from federal grants before the administration changed. So we were able to secure those grants to pay for portable radios, and the rest of it came right out of my bank account. We just cut a check for $390,000 and called it good. The reason we can do that is we can roll our cash over. We can do long-term financial planning at the sheriff's office. And just to tell you how this is really paying off now is we're in the process, and we're going to build out a new computer-aided dispatch system at 911, as well as a new records management system that'll connect us and the City of the Dalles Police Department together. So we'll be fully integrated and have interoperability for our records management system now. That's a 700 and some odd $1,000 lift. 360,000 of that's going to be sheriff's office. And then there's another 300 and some thousand is going to be through the dispatch center. And the reality of it is guess what? I'll write a check for it. I won't have to go back to the commissioners. I won't have to do anything. So we actually have a long-term financial plan that is working, not only for our department, but for other departments as well. So I'm super thankful that we went to that program and the commissioners trusted us to do that. I know that was before Phil was one of our commissioners, but I think it's really enhanced what we can do as a county as a whole. I don't look at it necessarily individually as a department because it gives us those abilities to do that. But when you really look at how we manage our money, how we do long-term financial planning and stuff like that, it makes us much more efficient as a county in what we do and how we provide those services. So super exciting on that. Bill, were you going to ask a question?
Yeah, I was. And I think it's, thanks for sharing about the new system. My question has to do with other departments. Are they also experiencing the same kind of ability to budget like you are?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, while their budgets are smaller, they still have their allocated amounts that give them the ability to move within that system. One thing of note that's really important for everybody to understand is just because I've got 4 departments and the largest budget and stuff like that, I still have to meet budgetary requirements, statutory requirements for budget law and different things like that. It still has to go through the commissioner's process as well as the budget committee's process. So yes, other department heads have the same ability to do those types of things, So the other thing too, just so everybody knows that where it gives us real flexibility, not only in projects, but it gives us real flexibility in compensation and benefit packages to our staff. So I was reelected on my 3rd term that just happened last November. So this would be my second full. I've just entered. Well, it's been a year ago now. So a year ago, I just entered my second full 3-year contract with the union. In the last 2, because we've been able to do this and doing financial planning and stuff like that, we've actually been able to improve the compensation packages to our deputies. By the end of this contractual period, we will have provided a 28.5% pay increase for our entire staff. And because we're financially solid long-term, this isn't just a one-time thing. Just everybody needs to understand that I'm not looking when I do budgets. I don't look, for just that year. I don't look for 2 years. I look 5, 6, 8, 10 years down the road as far as where we're at from a financial standpoint to be solid, right? What I can tell you is now, because we have that financial stability and that long-term planning, we've given them a 28.5% pay increase. We now pay 95% of all their medical benefits for them and their family. It used to only be for the employee. Now we chip in 95% and we pay for 100% of their dental coverage. So they don't have to pay a lick of that out of their pocket, and how expensive dental stuff can be. So, and that's a long-term thing. I have no concerns of the financial stability of the sheriff's office's bank accounts for the next 3 years while that's in there. Now, does that mean that something catastrophic couldn't happen in Wasco County and we're all back to square one? Yeah. I don't hope that never happens, but that's how we think financially at the sheriff's office as well as the county. This this system is only used in 2 other parts of the state, Lake Oswego. This is actually where this came from, as the city of Lake Oswego was doing this, and we looked at it as a county and adapted that. Matter of fact, County Administrator Tyler Stone went down to Bend several weeks ago and gave a presentation on it to other counties, and they just sat there and look at you like, wow, you really trust your people to do that? It's a big deal for us. So super excited to be a part of that part of the process. So other than that, we're doing really, really good at the sheriff's office. Morale is up, you know, everybody's in the trenches working, and we're getting our jobs done. So with that, I don't know of anything else. I've been doing a lot of talking, except Bill. He's always asking questions, which I'm appreciative of. So, but I'll take questions, or if you got questions or want me to talk on something else, I can do that too.
Looks like Commissioner Brady has a question.
Total agreement with everything the sheriff's saying about the budget process. And yes, we do trust our department heads and we put the responsibility on them. They're closer to the issues. They understand better what's going on. And it's an excellent process. I'm glad to be a part of it. Turning back to Rowena, another aspect of this is the Columbia Gorge Scenic Area. They came to our last board commission and promised that they're going to help with expedited permitting process for people who are rebuilding. They said people can already put trailers on their property while they are in the rebuilding process. And I believe tomorrow there's a tour with the Gorge Commissioners and Chairman Hagee and our staff of the Rowena area. So the Gorge Commission is sensitive to the issue. I fully agree with the water issue. That's an issue we need to pull back, do everything we can. From a commissioner point of view, losing 50 houses hurts our housing stock in the region. We can't afford to not be able to rebuild these housing. It hurts everything. Some of the people who lost their houses were on Section 8 vouchers and had nowhere else to go because we'd have no other housing available. So doing what we can to rebuild the water systems will help us get the housing back up quickly. Thanks so much, Sheriff Magill. I'm so proud to work with you and have such great respect for you. And you're right, Kyle down in South County is deeply loved. I've toured around with him and people really appreciate what he's doing.
Yep.
Thank you, Phil. Questions for Sheriff Magill? On the long-term recovery, Sheriff, you mentioned that earlier. Kelly's worked through the community development. There is a volunteer group forming through that effort to talk about communications, long-term recovery, that aspect of this. So around the table, if anyone knows, Jake, you mentioned the SBA, any other efforts around long-term recovery, we do need to be sure that all organizations are represented in that effort, so we're not duplicating efforts. If you know of things, Lisa, I've got the information you put in the chat box, anything else like that, please let me know. Right now, I'm kind of interim point person, I think, in working with Kelly on that and organizing a working group around that topic. So let me know if you know of other resources out there. I've been copying stuff off the chat box. And I do, on that same topic, Adventist Health could not make it this morning, but I do have information there on fire relief distribution. If you or someone you know has been impacted by the Rowena or the Burdoin fire, which came a little bit too close for comfort to me, join us at the Columbia Gorge Food Bank every Wednesday through the end of August for free fire relief supplies like water, hygiene kits, hand sanitizer, diapers, and air purifiers. That's every Wednesday until August 27th from 2 to 4 p.m. while supplies last. Columbia Gorge Food Bank, 3525 Crates Way, the Dalles. Wanted to get that on the record here. Other questions for Sheriff Magill? Lane, you do a fantastic job.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm just like I tell everybody, I'm just a facilitator. There's a lot of great people that are behind the scenes, and they're in, like I say, they are really in the trenches, really putting the grind on, and I'm pretty fortunate to be a part of a greater team. So yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, Sheriff. Just a couple of thoughts. Part of my day job, a portion of that over in Clickitat County actually is wildfire mitigation. And so it's sort of on the brain a little bit. And we've had personal and coworkers affected by fire. So it's been a hot topic, you might say, particularly the last couple months. I'm curious if you have thoughts at this point on or know of an effort during the rebuilding to have like some sort of lessons learned, some sort of after action thinking by fire emergency officials. I'm particularly interested in sort of mitigation and prevent things that people can do to sort of adapt to being in a fire prone environment and lessen their chances of having ignitions on the property. But there might be other lessons. I'm just wondering if that's something that you feel like folks have brain space and interest in, or
Yeah,
not.
yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, so anytime there's a major incident, and when I say major incident, it could be a major crimes incident, could be a fire. Heck, sometimes we have we have the unfortunate circumstances where we have to respond to mass casualty incidents with a number of car crash, like a car crash with death involved and things like that. We always have a debrief or an after action report on all those major incidents, and we have different thresholds of what that looks like. In this particular case with the Rowena fire, public safety and particularly so Department of Forestry, Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue, law enforcement, everybody that was engaged in the Rowena fire, we have actually initiated an initial after action report as to what went well, what didn't go well. And that covers, those after action reports cover all kinds of everything from staffing all the way down to how communications worked and right into the nitty gritty of, did a radio frequency fail on us type of a thing, right? That has actually happened for the Rowena fire. Due to the complexity of this fire and how big it is, those probably will be a little bit ongoing because we had the initial one and there's some stuff that's going to come out of that we just talked about, I think it's 2 weeks ago now, or a week and a half ago. And so we'll probably have to have some follow-up meetings on that just because it's the scale and the size of the incident. As far as mitigation goes in the state of Oregon, what I can tell you is that there are several mitigation grants out there. There's the, Phil, help me out on the Wasco County one. It's the, Melissa Napoli is the one that's coordinating it.
There's a community wildfire defense grant. It's the big federal grant.
Yep. That's a $5 million grant. And so that grant's being utilized. As a matter of fact, Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue was using some of that grant money, I believe, and doing actual wildfire mitigation the day before in Rowena when this incident occurred. So the Mid-Columbia Fire and Rescue, as well as all the other fire agencies in the county, are actively seeking ways to mitigate fire. As far as, wildland interface, urban interface, all that sort of stuff. So yes, we're actively doing that, not only from the fire side of it, but from a county administrative side of it. I'm not directly involved in that part of the process very much, just for the simple fact that that's really not my wheelhouse, but we're very, very supportive of it. So if there can be any kind of interface mitigations for citizens in Wasco County, we're all about supporting that. What I can tell you is that would be make it even better. This is one of the conversations that happens, kind of a side conversation. And I think it would be something that could even happen in our particular case here. And it's just something that I've thought about over the years is the building structures that are much more fire resistant. You look at some of these other areas around the country and stuff, they just go back in California, they just continue to build a stick built home. Well, that doesn't work. We know that. But you look at other places, quite frankly, around the world, and how they've integrated fire suppression systems, not only in their homes, but how they've actually built their structures. I mean, there's places around the world where they actually build concrete structures with concrete roofs, concrete sides, there's concrete walls, but they look super cool. They're aesthetically pleasing. They can change different colors on them, different things like that. So having those kinds of considerations in how we rebuild communities and stuff like that, I think is really, really important. That's just a thought of myself. It has nothing to do with public safety, but having those conversations, I think would be very valuable for us, especially in Wasco County. We continue to hold the record for the most conflagration acts in state history. And now we are the second largest loss of residential structures in Oregon history as well. So I think having those conversations at a very high level, doesn't have to necessarily be me, but ideas about how we can build back, more resilient communities and those types of things. I think that's a conversation that we should be having for sure. But there is activity going on. We're not sitting on our laurels. I mean, you should see some of the fire mitigations happening in South Wasco County. They're making big swaths of protected lands out there and cutting trees down on roads and creating natural fire barriers and different things like that, and having pre-plans around how retardant's going to get dropped and where fire guys are going to stage and everything like that to help mitigate some of these wildland fires that we have that come out in the south end of the county. So it's being talked about, and there's action that's being followed up with that. So there's a lot of activities that are happening for sure. Great question.
Excellent information. Unfortunate statistics, but very good to know that we're making progress on that. Things that people can do around their homes to lessen this risk. We are just about out of time. Other questions for Sheriff Magill? If not, I appreciate, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, Sheriff, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for this vital conversation. Lisa, any final remarks from the Chamber's behalf?
No, I put everything that we need from the community in the chat. I will say that our banquet on the 11th it's September 11th. We want to honor our first responders and more. So I might be getting a hold of you to see how we can get tables of those first responders that have actually had their hand in the Rowena fire and also the Verdorn. So look for some emails from me.
Sounds good. All right. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us. It's 8 a.m. on the nose. Sheriff, again, our guest this morning, Sheriff Lane Magill, Wasco County. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate the invite.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Everyone, we'll see you next Thursday morning, 7 a.m. Thank you.